Hi, welcome. We're here with Dr. David Turbow at the Creating Healthy Organizations Conference 2017 in Irvine, California. And Dr. Turbow has agreed to have a conversation about healthy organizations and what it looks like to empower others, some advice for students, and also we want to garner some information about 3 items that managers could do to be better, effective leaders. So welcome.
Thank you.
And prior to this, I just found out that Dr. Turbow's favorite sport is surfing.
Absolutely.
So why don't you give me a little bit of background, where you're from, where you got your degree, and what your specialty is.
Oh, sure. I am from Orange County, California, right here. I grew up, and as you mentioned, I grew up surfing. And my degree, my doctoral degree, is actually in social ecology, specifically in environmental health science and policy. And I was interested in studying from a scientific perspective on how pollution of the environment affects human health. And during my doctoral training, I started to take courses where we learned a lot about psychology and social behavior and how people interact with one another in healthy ways and unhealthy ways. That kind of spurred my interest over many years into how organizations are, how they behave, and how people interact with one another.
You know, this may sound strange, but I can see pollution on 2 ends, right? We have this self-think, this self-talk that we can do that can create this negative pollution in our own minds, and then coming from the environmental aspect, which was the first love that you had, it sounds like, and then how it translated over. So I have a great deal of respect for that. And like, you're talking 2 really diverse subjects, but there is a meeting in the middle.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I think you made a good point that people can actually pollute their minds. I've heard various perspectives. Some people think that we can't really choose our thoughts, that sometimes negative thoughts enter our minds, and I believe that too. And I think at an individual level, while we can't control a negative thought, we can recognize it for what it is, label it, and then choose to let it go and to focus on positive thoughts.
I think that it speaks to some of the sessions that we've had here about mindfulness, right? Wouldn't you say that goes towards the mindfulness and the perspective and the knowing thyself, right? Being able to identify and put it out, put the negative thoughts out, and then replace it with more positive viewpoints.
Absolutely.
What was your session on yesterday?
My session yesterday was on a tool called RACI. And RACI is a method of fostering teamwork and collaboration. And it's a very simple but elegant method where we figure out the role in an organization and what needs to be done. And when we work in teams where there are interdependencies, where we can't have winners and losers, either the entire team does well or the entire team fails. It's a way of delineating responsibility.
Is RACI an acronym, or how do you spell it?
It is.
Okay.
RACI is an acronym, RACI.
Okay.
It stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And I used a technique that's been refined by Cassie Solomon from the Wharton School, and I really found it to be helpful, as it provides a language that can be used and a technique. It's a technology, but you can do it on paper and pen.
It's so interesting, the idea that either we all work together and be successful, or if we all work together and we aren't empowering each other, then we will fail. Is that essentially what you're saying? With the tools, you teach people how to work together to be successful.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's precisely it. And a lot of times, what works well with this particular tool is that it enables us to see which roles, which activities we need to get done together, and often when we think of our own role in an organization or on a team, others may have a different conception of what we do.
Okay.
Especially when we're not talking about reporting to our boss, but when we work on committees or in liaison roles. And so it's really powerful for helping to introduce communication methods where people can discuss how do things look now, how do we want to change things in the future.
Do you, is your primary focus working in large organizations, or do you have more of a specialty working, like you said, on committees or in small, small aspects of, so if you have a human resources department, do you take a portion of the human resources department and then help them build up their team and then move from committee to committee, or am I making sense? Sorry.
Sure, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. My own role in my previous organization was in the area of outcomes assessment to help ensure that students were successful at meeting learning outcomes. And it involved building relationships with other departments, committees that were working on academic program review and building institutional research capacity. And you mentioned human resources, and it's so important that these tools for teamwork, they can be used for HR managers, they can be used for hiring processes and helping to assist with onboarding processes of new employees, and to facilitate the acculturation process of new staff. And it really kind of transcends different organizational structures.
I have so many questions all of a sudden.
Okay.
I have this passion inside of me, and it comes out once in a while, that I find it the onboarding and the offboarding aspect. And I think that I think we forget to offboard somebody that has been a committed employee to an organization, and the value of their longevity inside of the organization. We don't take the offboarding aspect and collaborate with the onboarding so that this generation of employee has the opportunity to share with the new employees some of the history, some of the knowledge that they've been able to attain. And I think that what you're talking about is the ability to have the communication and to be able to collaborate that way, even if somebody is on their way out into the next phase of their life.
Sure.
You know? And then my other, we have so many different executives that sit on boards that are not being paid. And not necessarily from a nonprofit aspect, but people that need to learn how to collaborate together for the greater good when they are in an unpaid position. And I think that what you do and what you're proposing would be so beneficial to the health and wellness of people that are volunteering their time in order to further an organization, in their free time.
Thank you. Yeah, you bring up a really good point about the need to connect what people have done and what their contributions are, and help with organizational transitions. And that really speaks to what we call institutional memory. If we bring a new
Write that down. Go ahead, keep doing it.
if we bring a new employee on board, it's important that during the acculturation process that they really have an understanding of the mission and the organization. And when an employee is, you refer to outboarding, when an employee is leaving, we need to really handle those relationships well, and through the transition, and there are various mechanisms I think that can be used to help train new people and to help acculturate them into the organization. And with nonprofits, there's a different structure with finances, but there are really a lot of the same issues in dealing with people.
And then the voluntary boards,
Right.
right? When you were just talking about, I think it was 2 days ago in one of the first sessions, we heard about, we have this conglomeration of vendors that maybe an organization uses, and somebody leaves the major or the main organization, and they have the opportunity, if they're going to go to another job. Were you in the session? And they would normally pick somebody that aligns with them, but it would be a vendor. So creating the relationships and taking the knowledge of how to work with different personalities and be able to, garner from your information and move into another job, it just seems just so beneficial. I should probably get to my question, Tom.
Yeah, sure.
So I think we discovered what drives your interest in healthy organizations, right? And that would be the communication and people collaborating together and being able to figure out where they fit.
Yeah.
One thing that I really would like to know is, what is your advice for students who are interested in entering the fields of organizational psychology or human resources? Advice.
Okay, advice for students.
Yes.
I think organizational psychology is, at schools like Vanguard, is a relatively new program where they offer a Master of Science in organizational psychology. To me, it seems like a fascinating field. And my advice would be to go into it with realistic expectations about what types of jobs are available, and make sure that it's something that your student is really interested in doing. To me, it's fascinating. I'm almost 50 years old now, and if I were maybe 20 years younger, if they had these program like that, I would definitely be interested in getting.
I'm sure that Vanguard would accept you if you
Yeah,
wanted to go.
I wanted to do
Yeah.
that.
But it seems like you might have already
Yeah.
achieved your scholastic
Yeah.
goals.
One thing that just comes to mind now from my own personal career trajectory that I've taken, in times when I've encountered personal and professional struggles, I often look to the organizational management literature.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I learned from that. I worked at a university where I was in the College of Health Sciences, but I worked on teams and committees with people who were professors of business management, and they helped share the perspective, the human resources perspective and the business management perspective. And it really helped me to navigate my way through professional challenges that I was experiencing. And so I think, to get back to the question about the advice that I've given to students, I think it's an emerging field.
Yeah,
And that they're really doing something that is so important and applicable to many different types of organizations.
What are 3 most important things a leader can do to empower others for organizational success? It's a loaded question,
3
Heidi.
things that leaders can do?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like only
Empower
3?
others. I would say the number 1 is to empower employees with decision rights.
Wow.
Yeah, to the extent that they can, when leaders, they set the they formulate the mission of the organization, and they make top-level decisions, and they set the strategic direction. Beyond that, I would say the number one thing is to push decision rights downwards, to empower employees to make key decisions.
That's really interesting. I think sometimes there's a fear of management that if somebody else makes a decision, that it will take away from the notoriety of the manager, right? But if a group collectively makes a decision together, which is the empowerment aspect.
Yeah.
And then what would your second thing be?
Let's see, I would say the second one would probably be maybe communication,
Okay.
focusing on clear communication channels and empowering employees to have a voice through whatever appropriate means is available.
And then the third?
The third aspect would be facilitating professional growth opportunities.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to stay at the same place, do they?
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
being able to assist somebody in the growth of their career. What does it look like, right?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the keynote speakers yesterday was talking about what brings you energy.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times we have strengths, and there are things that bring us energy, and it's really an empowering conversation when a leader can have a genuine conversation with an employee about what's going well and what could be improved.
And then I think too, some people become stagnant in their job and they're not learning anymore, and they do need to have a conversation or have somebody that will facilitate with them what are my strengths now. Like, I've completely shifted, I've become complacent, or I'm just not interested anymore, and they want to stay in the organization. Being able to find the place for them, and then going back to the session yesterday, what is the strength that gets you to that next place?
Absolutely, and those types of conversations help to move beyond the stagnation and allow an employee to kind of change trajectory sometimes, or to rejuvenate, sometimes regather and refocus. And it really shows a commitment on the part of leaders to work with their people.
More people could do that, that would be great.
Yeah, I think I agree.
You know, they just like invest in me, like please. I work with so many people that they just want to be known, and they want to be invested in, and they want to feel important and respected and honored. And I think, you know, sometimes you can walk past that one office and you should just go in and like have that deep conversation. Are you happy here? And find out exactly, you know, where the person is at, and get to know them. You know?
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Just, it's wonderful to be a part of this first conference on healthy organizations, and I hope that we'll have the opportunity to continue to build on these efforts and make it a great ongoing effort and focus.
I agree. Let's make it an annual event.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. That was wonderful. Appreciate it.